Loud you are.
Loud you are.
Okay, Yoda.
Ouch.
E.T.?
Yes. What other offbeat impressions can we do from the 80s?
This is how it goes south.
It's how it goes south. There he is, right there. Oh, I used to do that. No one used to be able to do that. I don't know why.
Can you do your neck with the water? No, do the with the, like this though. On your neck.
We're 12.
Only guys would do this. Could you imagine a bunch of women sitting around making
No.
sound? Dudes to Dads is a podcast to help men understand and navigate the transition of being a single dude into a family man. How do we make sense of it all? Well, we probably won't be able to, but let's go ahead and have some fun trying. Hello and welcome to Dudes to Dads. I'm your host, or one of your hosts, Jason Friedman.
I am Alan Bush.
And we invited him back because...
Back again.
I don't know. We just thought we were...
Why not?
Why not? Why not?
Thank you for having me back,
Yeah,
Jeff.
Biz was a cool guy.
Wasn't that an incredible intro? I'm like... That's because I'm good at podcasting. Anyways, wait, before we get started, I was browsing the web before we got into this. I came across this website called Man Crates.
Oh, okay. So,
Seriously, I don't need to go anywhere else now to get people gifts, guys, for like your father or anybody else. They're like gift baskets for men.
Okay.
They come in a wood crate.
Of course, because the man has to be involved.
And it's called Man Crates.
Man crates.
Yes. And they come in these things, and a crowbar comes. Yeah, a crowbar comes with it, so that you can open the package with a crowbar.
That's ridiculous.
These are these kinds of things where I wish I was the one who thought of this.
Yeah, that's the thing. The simple idea is taken to just that level.
But this is not. Well, this is not even that simple. I mean, it is. You're right, but it's like, and then so they have these packets, like gift bags of jerky. Or like another one that's like it's like bacon themed, or there's like sports stuff or poker. I seriously, I'm sitting there looking at this going, this is just genius.
That sounds like a great gift for a guest of a podcast.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I'm just
totally.
saying.
Next time we have a good guest, I'm going to totally do that.
So maybe it's a giveaway if someone writes us something. Or
so
think about that future
I
contest.
don't know. We didn't get anything for that plug. I just thought that was. Yeah. I thought they'd have a really cool website. So
Man Crates
sounds great.
Mancrates.com. So.
What's in it? Jerky?
Well, no. I mean, there's a bunch of different kinds.
Bacon themes. Bacon themes sound great.
Yeah, there's like one that's a bunch of different kind of bacon. Another one that has like whiskey. It's a whiskey theme, so there's all different kind of whiskey stuff in it. Jeez. You just check it out. It's cool.
That's funny.
So no, because I had just before we got started, I was like looking on the web, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I got to share that. So, anyways, so welcome to the show.
Yes.
Yeah. So recently, before we get into the agenda, because I do want to go over sort of what we're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. I went to, or I should say I assisted in a personal development course where I actually go and help and assist, because I had been through this course before where I can go and help and assist other people. Uh-huh. It's called Freedom to Be. And here they give it here in San Diego. It's in St. Louis. It's in a couple cities around the country. It's really awesome. That's I guess the best way to explain it. I can't really even explain it in few words of what it does. Yeah. But it's this company's called Your Infinite Life. They're the ones who put it on. Free plug for them too. They're good, great people. They put this on, and I'll put a link to it in the website so people can check it out, and if it's in their city or what. But basically, one of the themes of their I'm bringing this full circle because one of the themes was about making your own decisions to be happy, sad, etc. And the idea of how much we actually control our own emotions and that kind of thing. And, as an example, like, we don't go throughout the day, or we don't start our day by going, I'm going to run into a person who's going to be a total jerk, and then that's going to ruin my day. But that's what we do. Right. We let other people affect us. And so I had just finished the course, and this was a couple weekends ago, and I was talking to my son, And he came to me and he said, "Hey, listen," or he said, "Hey, Dad, I was outside and some of the kids said some stuff to me, and he was, called him some names." And I could see he was affected by it. And so that immediately jumped into my head of like, imagine if we could teach our kids to not be affected, and a lot of times we do say, "Oh, don't worry about that," like, "Oh, don't listen to them," that kind of thing. But this was a step further in that the course was talking about how when people are that way, let's say they're mean or they'll say something, it's usually a protection mechanism for something that's going on with them.
Sure.
So, they might have conflict, they might, whatever. And the idea of teaching that to my son or our kids was just awesome. But that was an awesome thought. And so I tried to explain it the best I could in that, I said, "Hey, listen, these, this," I think it was more than one kid actually said something to him. And he goes, "So I guess I am that way." So he was sort of taking it to heart of like, I think they said he was stupid or something, and they're playing around. And instead of me saying, "Oh, don't worry about it, just brush it off," I said, "You know what?" I said, when people do get upset, maybe there's something going on with them. I mean, they could have just been teasing and doing that. I said, but you know what? I said, people throughout school, you're going to be in school, you're going to be with your friends, you're going to be whatever. There's going to be people that are going to say stuff that's just probably not that nice. You're going to get it. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
And instead of just saying, "Hey, don't big deal," I said, instead, what if you thought about it as the fact that maybe something's going on with them? Maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they got yelled at. And he said, one of the kids this was in last year, he said, one of the kids in my school, the teacher said he had his heart was hurt.
So he understood the concept.
He totally understood it. He said, my heart, this kid's heart was hurt. And I guess that was a way we realized later or found out later that this kid had some real severe problems at home. And so he was acting out. He was hitting people and stuff. And so that was a good way of obviously explaining and saying, instead of just, I don't know that it's saying, something's wrong with that person, but basically like, hey, something's going on with them. And so the idea was to check in with that person, and saying like, if somebody's mean, saying, "Hey, is everything cool? Like, is something going on with you? And, you doing okay?"
Did he go back and try that?
Not yet.
Okay.
He's only 6.
He's
That's a lot of pressure.
Understand advanced psychological concepts.
No, but it was a perfect situation that applied to what I had just learned about me as an, I'm in my early 40s now,
Sure.
and I'm just learning this stuff. I'm learning about, wow, I actually do have control over that. Like, I don't have to. The fact that somebody said something crappy to me,
right,
ruins my day.
Yeah.
Or someone did something, or I can, it's easy to blame. In fact, we'll get into blame at the end of the show. But so anyways, I just thought that was an interesting thing, that if we can teach our kids that
at a very early age,
just starting with those little nuggets, the little nuggets of just, hey, maybe something else is going on with them. Maybe you could ask them and say, "Hey, listen, no, I'm not, but what's going on with you?" Imagine if you stood up to a bully that way, instead of like, or not even standing up, but like, say, checking in with the bully and be like, "Hey, is everything cool, man?
Yeah, everything cool at home, man?
Yeah, I know. Are you having problems?
Is there issues?"
I'm not expecting him to sort of deal with it in that mature of a way, but it's sort of just at least, setting a little bit of a foundation to do that.
It's a good seed to plant, I think, at that stage.
That's what I was
you know what I mean? Because I know, I think we've all been picked on as a kid to some degree, right? So
no, it's going to happen. You can't say, "Hey, just don't worry about it," whatever. It's like,
going to happen.
It's going to happen. How should you react to it?
If a child can connect the dots, then maybe they won't feel as hurt by it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they're not going to be a victim. It's just like, oh, that person, that's them doing that. So anyways, so we've got a great show. I know I say that, and I know I say that every time. But that's it. I feel like every time I come to this, I got a great show, and I'm excited about it. It's like I do a little bit of a prep before the show, and I'm like excited. And then now I have my friends around me. It's like, I could do this every day. No, actually, I couldn't do this every day. Who am I kidding? It's late. What time is it right now? It's late. We've had a full day of work, and but we enjoy this. We like coming here and recording, and if you guys have any feedback, be sure to reach out, podcast at dudestodads.com. Mm-hmm. Also, we're on Twitter, Dudes to Dads. Also, iTunes.
Yes.
iTunes
And Stitcher.
So iTunes, you can subscribe to the podcast at Dudes to Dads.
Yep.
And then also, if you can, leave a 5-star review.
Leave 5 stars and a review,
That helps
comment
us.
or something.
It's
yeah.
iTunes optimization. Is that really what that would be? Is
guess.
the more ratings,
the more ratings that happen, the more
the
likely
more
we'll appear
ratings
in the
and
top.
subscriptions you move up to top. In fact,
Yeah,
you know what
so
though,
you'll know
and I
about
have seen us slowly creeping up.
Yeah.
I do. I'm seeing us it's sort of we're in the what's hot or what's
Right.
what's new, whatever. New and noteworthy.
New and
That's what it is,
noteworthy,
of
yep.
kids and family. You're
Yep.
right. So we're moving up.
Yep.
You can also reach us on Stitcher as well, right, Alan?
Yep. Stitcher is another avenue for people with PCs and don't like iTunes for whatever reason. Some people use Stitcher app, and Stitcher is good for.
It's almost like Reebok and
versus Nike.
Nike. Is that what that was growing
Back
up?
in the day, yeah. What is it now? New Balance?
I don't know.
Reebok, Adidas.
Is there a war
Remember-
between Adidas? Maybe. Yeah.
Remember, I'm the dad.
Right. Yeah, but you're supposed to be more hip with this. You got kids.
I ain't hip with nothing. We have this awesome brand called Hand Me Down. It's so fun. So, side note. So when before I had kids, I totally was like, my kids would never wear. I was totally like,
Yeah.
hand me downs.
Of
Like I don't want
course.
hand me downs because I have 2 older sisters that had kids. I'm like, I'm not gonna. Why would my kids wear hand me downs? I can get them their own clothes.
Yeah.
And then when I had kids, I'm like, I never want to buy clothes ever, ever. And we are so lucky because we've got a big group of people that sort of trade clothes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's so funny how that changes.
2 boys.
Yeah.
Stevie wears hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
I know.
The
Right.
younger one wears hand-me-downs, and I feel bad for the child.
I know.
Never gets anything new.
Yeah, because it makes sense. They outgrow everything.
They do very
Yeah.
quickly, especially
Yeah.
at that age.
Totally.
Right.
So yeah, it was funny. I'm like, anyways. So I'm going to go over the agenda here. We've got a couple things lined up. First, we are going to go into the battlefield. And the battlefield will actually touch on a topic that we were just discussing. It's amazing how that works. And then we'll talk a little light her fire. This one it's a subtle way to be in charge without sounding like you're controlling.
Which is hard for a lot of people.
Does that make sense?
Yes. I don't think a lot of people follow that, so it would be interesting to hear what you have to say about
Well,
this.
it's not what I say. It's what Dr. Ellen says.
Right.
I wish I said that. I'd make a lot more money. And then we'll go into Supercharge. The Supercharge, I was on a flight. This was 2 weeks ago, and saw this product, and I just had to find out what it was. So that's the little teaser. It's pretty interesting.
Okay.
And then we will finish up with a quote. This is actually a little bit longer than just a little small quote. It's a quote related to the course that I was talking about
Oh, okay.
in the beginning of the episode. So it's some information that I thought was really valuable and kind of a philosophy. And so I wanted to share that.
So wait, Vince, did you take this course as well?
I did not.
It has not.
Oh,
no,
okay.
this is the one that Jason flew off to.
No, well, this was no, I didn't. This was a different one. Freedom to Be is a course that was given here in San Diego. That was a one called The Quest, which was
Okay.
another great thing where you actually go away for the weekend. So
Oh.
go up in the mountains in a beautiful area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, cool.
And do all kinds of fun
Retreats
stuff.
and stuff, yeah.
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 Hey, any chance I get to
To get away from
No,
people.
no.
For the
Civilization.
weekend by myself.
That's not what I was saying. Meaning
You were
to,
thinking it.
To feed the mind and the soul.
Oh, tools for your toolbox of life.
Isn't that what liquor's for? No,
I totally did not know where you were going with that one when you were talking about that. But that's cool. That's cool too. All right. So let's start out with the battlefield. If we can apply what was just said earlier about how we, I should say, how other people's words affect us, affect our emotions, how we have that decision. I was thinking about this of how this happens in the battlefield, which is how we deal with our kids. And a lot of times, and I think we were talking about this earlier, where this was before we started the podcast today, about when we come home from work, we're stressed,
yeah.
tired, whatever. That has an enormous effect on how we deal with our children.
Sure.
And that's exactly what that other comment and topics were about. It's so when we are acting that way, maybe not as loving as we could be with our children, we're coming from a different place,
Right.
and we're
right.
not happy, or we're frustrated, or we're stressed at work, or whatever. Or, there was something else unrelated that is having an effect. And I think people sort of consciously know that, but you don't realize how often that happens. You experience that too, Vince?
I do. We've talked about this before. You walk in the door, immediately your children are on you.
Yeah.
And you were ready to walk in the door and welcome them, but suddenly they're there, and all of a sudden you have to get them ready for dinner, and then they have to eat their dinner, and then they have to do their homework, and so you immediately go into that mode rather than stopping, taking a moment, enjoying them, and being present.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, didn't you say? Because we've all had the experiences of not doing it correctly. Probably less so when we do it correctly. But you were talking about the other day. You went to an amusement park. You were telling me what happened.
So you're going to an amusement park. I have 28 5-year-olds. It's the end of the year field trip to the.
You weren't by yourself with 28.
No. There were other parents there.
Oh.
But at the end of the day, it's 92 degrees. It's humid. It's hot. The kids are getting tired.
Yeah.
And my son didn't want to take a picture. And so instead of saying, "Oh, are you tired? Can I get you some water?" I said, "Oh, that's disappointing." And I immediately in my head said, "You are not a nice man." And I knew what I had done was wrong.
Did he? How did he react?
He
just got worse, or
he didn't get worse. He just, kind of stayed that tired. I knew he was tired.
Right.
And he didn't react, but I think he saw my reaction to myself. And he gave me a little hug.
Oh.
And that made me feel even worse. So, things like that.
Way better than me.
It wasn't him because he was tired.
So he knew.
He knew.
Yeah.
It was me because I was tired. And so in that moment, I was reacting in a way because of how I felt.
Right.
Right.
It's tough. As parents, this is both dads and moms. It's like, you sort of, you mean the best, you mean well, and just some of those times, and they're pretty frequent, where you just don't feel like doing that, and it's hard to come from a place of love all the time.
I want to be a super dad all the time, but sometimes I will fail.
Right. Yeah.
Well, in the case with your kid, in that circumstance that you just mentioned, he has a certain sensitivity level to you as well.
He does.
So he's fairly empathic.
In tune.
He's in tune with you.
Yes, and I think
not to say you can go out and go crazy on him.
No, but he was much more accepting of it because I think he thought in his head, "Oh, my dad must be tired."
Something's up with my dad.
Stop bugging dad.
This is not normal behavior.
Right.
No, that's cool. And Alan, probably, it's the same thing with girlfriend. It's like, you have a bad day. Then we end up dealing with people totally different.
Yeah.
And so the idea is,
well, even friends, girlfriends, like anybody you have to deal with on a regular basis that you come home to, and all of a sudden you're got to download your day onto them on some level because you had a bad day. You kind of do.
Well, so the idea is this quote bad day, and that's what happens is, we don't start out that way. The world affects us.
Yes.
And the idea is if we can minimize how that world affects us, even if it's on take a day.
Yeah.
And you say, you know what, today I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what happens, I'm still going to be happy.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done. But
of course.
That's the ideal. That's the ideal where you're saying, I think the term that was used, Bill Riedler, who's actually the creator of these programs, he was the one who said it's like, breaking my serenity. Like that was the terminology used. It's like, I'm not going to let these things break up my serenity. It's like, I'm going through calm, I'm good, but it's just sort of this mantra. And then all these things come throughout the day, or people and things and situations and stresses and all this. And then that changes you.
Yeah.
But the idea is those things should still be able to come towards you and at you and not change you. That they shouldn't.
Right.
But we do.
Yeah.
We do let them. And so that's partly for me the work that I'm trying to do is have that affect me less, because I find myself, things are stressing me, or I'm blaming it on things or people or whatever, instead of kind of looking at it and saying, hey, listen, how do I want to be? What is the way that I'm a loving, caring, happy person.
A word creator.
Yeah. That's awesome. And that's who I want to be, because that's who I am.
Yeah.
So why are all these other things not making me that way? Or I'm allowing them to change me in that way.
I think even a generally happy person though can have a day where those stressors will affect them differently.
Right.
I feel
That's
like
true.
I feel like I'm a pretty happy guy all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have those bad days.
Right. No,
and you give yourself permission to have those bad days
I
too.
guess
Absolutely.
There's the key, and we talked about this before on a different podcast, but it's allowing yourself to feel bad, because once you let yourself feel bad, then it passes through you a lot quicker.
Well, it's recognizing it, saying, okay, I feel crappy.
Yeah.
Like I feel crappy.
That
That
rather
was
than
not
trying
fun.
Yeah.
But I'm going to set it
but
aside now.
I'll move on.
Yeah.
You know, and put it. Yeah, like you
Right.
said, set it aside.
Gosh, we talk so well. It's like I wish I
know.
could actually do
But
this
then
stuff.
watch a stressor come in here. We're gonna freak out and beat
What
each
are you
other.
doing here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Throw things
I
at him.
so wish I could do what I say I talk about. Yeah,
Go loot a store.
totally. So, anyways, all right. So let's move on.
All right.
We are going to move on to light her fire. Okay, so with this light her fire clip, there's this little subtle way to sort of be in charge and or sort of still be assertive without seeming like you are controlling. And so let's hear that and see how this goes.
When you have an opinion or make a decision, don't ever forget to add, what do you think? Or what would you like? You've got to be willing to change your plans some of the time. It's part of a loving act called compromise.
So the idea that you simply can add, like, what do you think? Will that work for you? You know, something like that at the end of it. What about, like, you can make fun of somebody and then go, well, there's not that there's anything wrong with
You're
that.
right. Yeah, exactly.
You know, so that was a Seinfeld line.
Yeah. Well, there's anything wrong with that. Well, I guess there's limits with that, because you can't be like, I'm hungry. Sandwiches need to be made. What do you think? You know, and like subtly say, you got to go make that sandwich for me.
Why can't you say that?
Oh, right. Well,
That one becomes a little controlling.
yeah, exactly.
controlling,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, at what age can your kids go make you a sandwich?
Oh,
I think we-
yeah. Well, it was a quiz from the last time, right? Damn it, we're
from
failing.
the last
6 years
show.
old.
Vince, we're failing.
That was
yeah,
from
was
the last
was
show.
it 6?
I don't know. I just
Thanks for putting us on the spot.
Yeah,
Jason.
Thank you.
We appreciate that.
it's a live show. You guys forgot.
I did.
No, anyways. No, so I think it's a good point that, we want to be assertive often, with, saying sort of what it is that we like and what we want, but there's the idea of compromise. And the way to sort of intro that or get that in is by asking the other person. So instead of being passive and saying, so what do you want to do? You want to do something, or you want something out of it. You say it and then say, so what do you think? Or does that ring true? Or
Be inclusive.
Inclusive. That's a great
It
word.
helps
That is a great word.
during the
Word,
compromise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but compromise is a key. I think one of the things with compromise is, can both people be happy with the compromise? We often talk about that in my own personal relationship. We talk, okay, you want this, I want this. What is the compromise? Are we both happy with that?
Are we speaking about this in context of an argument, or I wouldn't say argument, but a disagreement, let's say?
I don't know. Give me an example.
Well, like you both want to do something different, but you're kind of asserting your opinion that you really want to do this.
Well,
one.
if you're in an argument, that probably won't work.
Right.
I wouldn't think it would, because somebody's not going to care what you have to say.
But I mean, these tactics could be used on some level.
Sure.
But I mean, you're right. There's probably going to be a little bit more like, really? Well, I think I should walk out of here.
Yeah, no, I think it's. I mean, even with this works in the workplace too, though. I mean, you
Yeah.
think about, especially if you're a manager.
Yeah.
If you're a manager trying to get input from other people, but yet you still need to,
Make the decision
make
yourself?
the decision and show a little dominance
Right.
in that fact, because you are in charge. And so, I mean, even if that's the kind of environment you sort of have.
Yeah.
So you are saying, hey, listen, we're going to be doing this. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
That's very inclusive to somebody who
It's influencing.
Yeah.
So
it is,
you're
yeah.
getting people.
Well, you're a sales guy, so you know
you're
this
getting
stuff.
people to follow along with what you really want to have done.
Right.
Right.
And you need to kind of bring that into your relationship as well.
Right.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I guess it does.
Yeah, so whether you're doing sales or you're in your relationship, you're influencing.
You're selling them on everything.
Didn't tie together very
It
well.
is a sale. So do salespeople make good in relationships? So does it the sales training that you learn. That's a kind of random question.
That is a random question, but I do think
it's interesting.
It is interesting because, like, what kind of type of personality?
It has to help
because you
learn things about to read a personality, to read how somebody's feeling at that moment, body language, how they're responding to you, and if you want to influence a certain decision, of course, I think it helps a lot.
I need to go to sales.
I have a great relationship.
You do, and you have a lovely wife. So
yes,
that's cool. But no, that might be good. Is maybe the Dudes to Dads guy should go on sales training. We'd learn all these tips.
And what kind of professions make the best relationships of?
Ooh.
That'd be interesting to research.
A good quiz. Maybe people out there at podcast@dudesadads.com have some opinions about that. What kind of employee or job types make the best relationships?
Could you put two salespeople together? Would that make for a great relationship?
Is it a complimentary thing, or is it
like two accountants?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, my friend's a lawyer, and he's married to another lawyer.
Yeah.
And they work out great.
Yeah.
Just had the first kid.
Well, but just because somebody's a lawyer doesn't mean they have the same personality.
That's true. Yeah. And that goes for sales as well, I would imagine. But
although engineers might be stereotyped, there's,
But that being said, they might not have the same personality.
No, most engineers have the same.
I think they do.
That was not a knock to engineers. I'm just saying.
Sorry to all you engineers out there.
There's stereotypes, sure.
Yeah, and then there's the truth.
Sorry. Awesome.
I have a kind of an interjectory thing I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
And I
every time he does this, I get nervous.
Well, there's
the dude's perspective.
Well, kind of, and it correlates with some of the stuff we were talking about earlier about bringing your problems home. So, how do you unwind, right? And generally speaking, like maybe you come home, you grab a drink, or you light up a cigarette, or whatever it is that you do in private. There's some things that when you have kids you can't do. Like I could go out with my buddies. I knew
you were going to go somewhere.
No, I go out with my buddies. I mean, there is freedom that comes with being a dude, right? And you remember being a dude. You go out, have a drink with your buddy, come home, liquor it up. No one cares. You're just by yourself. You don't care. But when you have kids, you can't be like, "Hey, I'm going to throw up on you now." You have to be sensitive to them. And so
yes.
If you're not, you're a horrible deadbeat dad. But what I'm trying to say is that there's some things that you can do in mild moderation that you still may not want your kids to see you doing, or do you?
That's why you go on vacation.
Daddy's going away for a month.
Mommy and Daddy are going on vacation alone.
Stay with Grandma and Grandpa. So, I guess my question, or maybe topic of debate here, is what do you do, and when do you let your kids see it?
Ooh. Vince?
Interesting. I was going to say Jason.
Well, okay. So the one part is it is go away, obviously. I mean, I think you do go
away.
On,
you can.
You go on vacation. I mean, you do something, it depends the severity of what you're doing. Like, let me try to think for a second. Like, okay, I do recall let's say once or twice a year, we'll probably smoke a cigar.
Yeah.
A friend comes over or something. Yeah, whatever. I remember a buddy came over I hadn't seen in a while. He was like, "Dude, I got cigars." I'm like, "Great. Wait a second.
My kids
are right there. I don't think that's a good idea." Now, that was my first thought.
Okay.
My second thought is to try to be this open, the reality is that their dad is not perfect.
Okay.
That's another topic we have discussed, is that, my kid's dad and me, or me, I'm talking third person, is not perfect, and it's okay for them to see that.
But is smoking a cigar make you not perfect?
Yeah, that's my question too. Is that there's certain things that are they considered imperfections, or are they just like a vice is an imperfection? Maybe.
Is it a vice? It's once or twice a year.
Right.
No. Okay, but the perspective is like my son, as an example, learns in school that smoking will kill you. Okay. Wow. And in fact, we were, going towards the airport, and there was a guy with a cigarette, and he's yelling out the window, "That's disgusting!" Whatever. Or not out the window, but he's yelling at us like, "Hey, that's disgusting." He's going to kill himself. And so there's, of course, that fear of doing something, whatever it is. I mean, having drinks or doing something adult, as we would say,
right,
that your kids see. Now, there's probably a certain level that is acceptable. I mean, my kids know I drink beer. I'll have, a couple of beers on a Friday night or something at home, and they'll see that. But it might be the attitude towards it, or however you dealt with it. So, but I got to be honest, I was uncomfortable lighting up a cigar with my kids there, and I don't know the best way to handle that. I mean, one of the other ways would be to say, hey, listen, I'll be honest and say, I do. It's not good for you, because it's not. That's the reality.
Sure.
It's not good for you, but I do like to do that.
I enjoy it.
I enjoy it.
Have a conversation.
Yeah, and it is okay. It's the same thing. I mean, whether it's eating bad food or whatever, it's like you have to do things in moderation. You can do them once in a while when you're an adult.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like you just mentioned the bad food, and I was going to bring that up. Like if you eat McDonald's once in a while, or some kind of horrible food you don't normally eat, it's like, well, once in a while this is okay. And as an adult, you do things once in a while that you normally don't do.
Yeah, it's just balancing that with a kid who's learning a no smoking campaign is going to it's going to kill you.
Yeah.
And the child saying,
what's the vegetarian version of smoking?
Well, it's interesting. You can be at home. We don't drink a lot, but once in a while, the wife and I will have a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And in front of the kids, they'll be like, "Oh, you're having a glass of wine. Are you going to get drunk?" But we
They'll
can
actually ask that.
Vinny will.
It's a smart kid.
Yes. But we can have a group of friends over. You've been over to dinner. We've had a party where all the adults are drinking.
Yeah.
They won't think twice about it. But if it's mom and dad alone, that's different in their mind. And so I think having that discussion, yes, we enjoy a glass of wine once in a while.
That's interesting that they distinguish that when friends are over, it's okay to have this social drinking
Well,
experience.
okay. They just don't say anything. Maybe
They don't say anything, but in their minds, are they
friends are bad influence?
are they thinking to
That
themselves,
Jason
"Oh,
guy
when
keeps coming over with alcohol.
he drinks.
every time he comes over, my dad buys a case of beer." No, but
It's really, it's not even called beer. It's like it's
Select-
beer flavored water.
Oh, jeez.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you're drinking those
Really
kind of
not
beers.
even that good.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's interesting to see that distinction. If there's a party going on, in their mind, are they thinking, "Oh, that's okay to do"?
Because it's kind of a party
Yes.
situation. So it's a social setting to them. But when it's private time with mom and dad, it's like, well, why are you doing this now?
What is
not-
that?
This is.
Well,
Do you have a problem?
but I bring back. There was a. In fact, we shared it at one of the meetups. Was the idea of being imperfect? Like, granted, you said like, is smoking imperfect or whatever, but it is those things, those values and those things. If we're really looking hard at it, said, what's the most healthy thing? Yeah, it's to not drink and not smoke and do those things. But we do that once in a while if we're okay with it. Is it okay then? And it's important to teach our children that we occasionally can do those things. It's how we handle it. Or something. I don't know. I don't know the answers, but that's certainly the argument.
I would agree with that point of how you handle it should be caught into play, because things are going to happen, and sometimes you engage in bad behavior. How do you handle it, though, is the main difference between it being a problem and you doing something for fun once in a while.
And the discussion you have, whether you treat it as this is bad behavior or this is something I do once in a while.
Yeah.
True. Well, but there's also the double standard saying, hey, I'm doing this, but you shouldn't.
But it's true. But I'm an adult.
I'm an adult.
I drive a car. You shouldn't.
Right.
So you can kind of go that direction.
We've used that.
Until you turn 18, and then we'll have
when you're 21, you can have a glass of wine also.
What do we say?
You're not going to taste this now.
right.
Or I say, after you finish graduate school.
Which is when I'm going to allow you to date.
Yeah, then you could try
Subject
beer.
for a later time.
Yeah, exactly. New debate of the new podcast.
So does that help, Alan? I don't know. You know.
Not at all. No, actually, it does. I'm just joking. I do agree, and I do agree with those statements. And I was trying to figure out.
Was this a bunch of dudes hanging around, or how did this come up?
No, I just thought of it. I was just thinking of it in context of, because my friend just recently had a baby with his wife, and he's in Toronto, so I don't hang out with him very often. But had we been hanging out, I can't be like, hey, let's go get a drink or two, you know, and then you go home to your, kid drunk or whatever it is. And I was wondering that same.
No,
because honestly, I've hung out with you, and you don't drink a lot. Most of the time,
When I'm out,
when you're out, yeah, exactly. When you're out, when I'm home, I get liquored up.
No, but I think it's the same thing of everything. It's that control thing of being in control or so. But no, I mean Vince has seen us seen me let loose, quite a few times. But it's I think with the kids around, there's definitely a self-policing of all.
Absolutely,
that.
you're not coming
when
home falling down drunk.
No,
of course, in front of your children.
Of course not.
Especially when you are. I mean, when they're really young, I recall drinking so little.
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
any. I mean, even staying out. You want to sleep. You're tired.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And those are things that you are very conscious of because you want to be like, you're going to have to get up in the middle of the night.
You want to be available.
You want to be available
and
on.
ready to go. If I have to drive to the hospital, if I have to, whatever it might be.
Although some people might do the opposite and say, they're just miserable. And so they might turn to substances or something like that, which is a different situation. But, in general, at least the crowd that I'm around and the meetup and all that, it sort of seems pretty common.
Well, sorry to take this a step further, but it can not just be drinking or a cigar. It could be like you want to watch a certain type of movie, and I don't mean an adult movie, get your mind out of the gutter. But I mean like you're watching some action flick that you don't want your kids seeing.
Same thing.
Sure.
Same kind of thing, right? So like you kind of have to either do it in private or, hey, we watch these once in a while.
No. The kids aren't around at that.
That's after bedtime.
Because I've always felt weird, even with my little sister, who's 16 years younger than me, when she was in the room one time, and I think Alien or some weird alien movie was on, and the guy just swore once. And he said, F. Yeah, but obviously not F. And then I go, we're changing the channel right now. and I just
that's
had
another good topic.
I had to kind of go into that, but it was one of those things. I was policing that when I was
some parents. You hear
a teenager.
will say or feel comfortable talking like that. I personally don't, but it's funny when somebody comes over to your house who's not typically around young children.
Yes.
And all of a sudden the mouth
language
goes,
gets very flavorful.
And they're like, whoa. And then your kids look at them and like, what was that?
What were those words? I never heard those.
Yeah. So, no, it's all that stuff. I mean, that's the transition of Family Man. That we
It is. Going from dude to dad.
Oh, right on. That was
Self-policing.
Perfect.
Right. Well, let's switch gears a little bit
right,
and head into Supercharged. As I mentioned, I took a flight. Did I mention this?
You did.
I think so. And if you didn't, you did now.
Oh. Well, I took that was for a different reason. But so I was on a plane recently.
Yeah.
And saw this apparatus. I don't even know what to call it. It hooks around your waist, and then it hooks around the tray table in front of you. Okay? Try to picture this.
Okay.
Alan, I don't know where he's going with this.
Yeah.
It's like a little hammock. Okay? It's called a Flyebaby. That's how I found out the name of it.
Okay.
I just thought it was really cool. So I've seen, when you bring a baby on board, and if it's small enough, it sits with you, and you're just sitting there holding it, it's squirming, it's doing whatever. I've actually seen somebody bring a car seat on, and the kids sat in a car seat on
the
the
seat
plane.
next to him.
Yeah, like in the
Did
plane.
they buy out another seat?
Well, yeah, you have
to.
to pay for a seat.
Right.
Yeah. If the baby's small enough, though, I don't think you do. It's like under
Lap
two,
child.
lap child or something.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a different price.
That's a fun trip.
Yeah, I don't remember. But this thing was called the Flyebaby, and basically it's an infant airplane seat, it's called. And so, like I said, it hooks around your waist, and then hooks around the seat in front of you.
Okay.
And so the baby is in this little hammock in front of you, facing you.
So you're one tree and the seat's the other.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the baby's like just chilling like there. And it said something, I read, I was looking for some information about it, and it said it's like FAA regulated or
approved?
like approved or something like that.
probably just
So
added that.
I don't know. We got to find.
Till this guy in front of you leans his seat back.
Right.
I'll see if I can find a link like on Amazon or something that we.
What
can,
are these things called?
It's called a Flyebaby.
Flybaby.
Yeah.
Flyebaby?
Yeah.
Is that how it's spelled?
Yeah. Flyebaby. Baby.
Baby.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting because I have traveled. We traveled with our son across country on a plane when he was 3 months old.
Yeah.
And boy, I stressed for 3 months prior to that flight. We learned all these tricks and everything. He ended up just breastfeeding the entire time.
Oh,
it was
good.
really
Perfect.
people. We came out and we brought the baby out like from under her shirt. And people were
you
like,
had a
I didn't even
baby."
realize you had a baby in there. Because my wife was awesome. It was just like, I don't know. He was just chilling the whole time. Yeah, he was just really hungry. I was recently on another one, and there was a baby. It was so quiet. It's just some are really quiet, and some aren't.
Yeah.
Now that when you have kids, you don't care. Like,
No, as a parent, you want to be able to go up to them and go, I understand.
I'll help you. Want me to grab him
It's
for a second?
okay.
Yeah, I know. All the people who have kids are like, whatever. But when it's your kid and it's your first kid, you're so stressed out that you're bothering people.
Right.
The only people you're bothering are single people.
Yeah.
Yes.
And sometimes older, like maybe just a little bit grumpy, whatever. But for the most part, people really don't care.
Yeah.
Like, unless they're trying to sleep or something. But
Yeah.
but it was just funny because, people, if a baby's crying or whatever, I don't think two things about it.
I think as a parent, you don't. When I was a dude and a business flyer, I thought a lot about it.
Did you?
Did you?
I got to be in a meeting in about 3 hours. I can't get any sleep. Now I look and I take mercy upon those people.
Totally. So anyways, Flyebaby. Thought it was a cool thing. That's on our supercharge. So.
Yeah, right on.
So let's get into quote of the day.
All right.
The quote for the day is called Oneness, and it's from Bill Riedler. Bill Riedler is sort of one of the founding guys for this these courses that I was talking about in Your Infinite Life, the company. He's sort of the guy who founded a lot of the stuff and the philosophy about blame and these things. That it's really, really interesting. So this was it's a little bit longer than a quote, but I wanted to read it because it was from the course. It's called Oneness, and it says, one of the largest living organisms in the world is a grove of aspen trees in Utah. They each look separate, but have a single united root system. When we learn to stop blaming, we will be able to recognize how we are all one and cannot harm one another without harming ourselves. Perhaps one day countries will spend portions of their defense budget for attitude disarmament. The process of learning not to blame others will also relieve nations of their need to meddle in the affairs of other countries. At that time, world peace will not mean only that war does not exist, but that all people enjoy an inner serenity that will enable us to recognize how much we love each other. That's pretty deep.
That is deep.
I didn't mean to go that deep, but I really like this quote because it talks about the idea, obviously, that the world is bigger than just ourselves, but this concept of blame is just really, really strong, and it rings really, really big with me because I blame myself a lot. So it's not just about blaming other people. It's blaming myself for situations and be like, gosh, I can't believe that, or I can't believe I did that or said that. Even like when you, Vince, were talking about, at the amusement park.
Yes.
You were blaming yourself and being really
for how
hard
I
on,
acted.
being
Absolutely.
really hard on yourself. And the idea is like, it's okay. Like, it's not that big of a deal, and I try and am trying to do more of that, sort of just letting go a little bit. I don't know. I thought that was cool. What,
Yeah.
thoughts?
It's a very Zen attitude, and but I think it's bigger than being a parent. It's like this part of the planet. Planet is a big organism if you look at it that way, and we all live on it. And the more we kind of are at war with each other, the more we're screwing up this bigger organism that we're living on. And that's a very, it resonates with everything. I think you do,
and I think I talked about this on the podcast before. Is as a parent, you first when you get married, you look at things a little differently. Just. It's just the nature of it. You now are, supporting or, you're connected to this other person. When you have a child, the dimension just completely
responsibility
changes.
Feels like it triples.
Yeah, and it's not just a responsibility for the child. It's like you do feel the responsibility often of like, I want to make sure my child is a productive, good member of society. Right. So you start thinking a lot bigger than just yourself. And it's one of those things where I really don't think I thought anything like that before I had kids and before I was married. I was worried about myself. Like, that's it. Like, hey, I'm doing my job. I got my toys. I got, I'm
good
to
to fly
go.
Off on the weekend. Everything is good.
I mean, I'm good. I'm happy, whatever. And when you do have this and you have these other people that are, first of all, they're dependent on you and you depend on them, it really does change your perspective on things.
Right.
And I think that's a big part of the whole dude to dad, concept is, you're transitioning with not only just the physical of having now this child, but it's really the mental part of it too. And that's the biggest part of it is this sort of mental transition from being a single guy and worrying about yourself to now being a family man and worrying about a lot of other things.
Right.
And it's not easy. That's why we're here. It's not an easy transition, but it's an awesome one. I don't think Vince or you or myself would ever say, I'd probably go back the other way.
I like being selfish.
No, I mean, there's elements of it, that you look back, you're like, oh, that was fun.
Would I have done this differently?
Yeah.
But absolutely not. Once you have those children, you can go down that road.
Yep.
Again.
And you don't have a choice.
Right. You can't put them back.
You're in it.
Right. And so with that, thank you once again, Mr. Vince, Mr. Allen.
Yes.
I'm Jason, and see you next time.
Take care.
Thanks for having me.